back to another episode. I'm your host, Brandon Cobb, co-founder of HBG Capital. And today I've got Ginger Faith on the show. She has been a successful real estate investor for over 30 years. She's been a broker, builder. She's CEO of Golden Canyon Properties. She's flipped over 52 houses. 2 are on HGTV. She's an Airbnb super host with the Landlady Banker. She bought her first profitable commercial real estate investment in 1994. She's the founder of Your Wealth Network, a meetup group for the Women's Health Network. And she's in the San Francisco Bay Area. She's been featured on a bunch of cool stuff that you've heard of, like Fox, CBS, NBC, and Yahoo Finance. Ginger, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Good to be here today.
It is great to have you. I'm excited to jump in with you today. So before we kind of get into the nitty gritty, we're going to talk about a lot of stuff, retiring if you're not where you need to be after the age of 40, how to match your natural gifts and talents to the right investing strategy. I want to talk to you why you think that like women are just not as like prevalent in the real estate investing environment and men. And we're going to go into some cool stuff on like how you built your business, retired, all that. Before we jump into today's topics, for those that don't know you, what's your story?
My story is I'm a real estate entrepreneur, which basically means I'm an opportunist. I look for opportunities in the game, in the market. I love serving people. I know what my niche is, serving people and creating beauty. That's it. And so I just happen to use real estate to work out my purpose. My story was I started in 1994. I bought a 6-family Victorian. It was beat up. It was a distress sale. Unfortunately, the owner passed away before the close of escrow. His sister was the trustee. I took it over, and at one point, I had seen this house months earlier, and I saw a for rent sign on it, and I said, "Oh my God, who would rent this horrible looking house?" But when it came to buying it, suddenly I was really excited. And I thought it was a beautiful house once I knew I was going to buy it. So I immediately, first thing I did is I got a contractor to paint it into a painted lady, which made a big splash in this puritanical neighborhood outside Boston. And everything was gray and brown and white.
Yeah.
And I painted it cream, pink, and purple, and kind of just woke up the entire neighborhood. But then I had people lining out the door to rent from me, telling me, just give me a bucket of paint and some spackle. I'll fix up the apartment myself. And although today that seems unconscionable to do that, I did it at the time. I didn't know what I was doing. And I said, sure, here's some paint, here's some spackle, go for it. And I had it rented within a month and a half. Turned it around. I dropped the insurance at the time. Only Lloyd's of London would insure it because it was so awful looking, but it was really just cosmetic. The bones of this property, it was like 1885, it was built. Beautiful, beautiful property. Widow's Peak, mahogany library, just stunning, Victorian. The bones of it were fantastic. And so that was my foray into real estate investing. It was just totally shoot by the hip. Ran the numbers, they looked good. I thought I got it cheap enough. It couldn't go wrong, and I was right. So sometimes you got to take a gamble after you run the numbers.
Yeah. And so from that investment that you started that journey, what did it morph into after that?
Well, I took the money out from once I improved the value. I took some money out. I bought another sixplex because that seemed like such easy money. And
Yeah.
then I did it again. I bought a nineplex, and then I took some more money out and I bought a flip in Brockton, Massachusetts. It was a little tiny house. It was a foreclosure from a credit union. So I walked right into the credit union and I offered them $17,000 for this house, and they took it. And I took it off their hands. I put in about 24,000 and I sold it for 85,000. That was again back in the 90s. So it was kind of like it just started off like a Monopoly game, kind of like anybody else starts, but it was very effortless. I didn't take any classes or anything. There weren't really classes around. I went to one class on trusts, on how to protect your assets. And it was so funny because one of the men asked me if I was there looking for a husband because I was the only woman in the room. So I don't think anybody would dare say that but now, but that's what happened. And I was literally the only woman there. And they're like, what are you doing here? So this was, way back before HGTV and all the flip this house. And like women started
Yeah.
jumping on the bandwagon once, like, after 2000, the game started changing. But this was in the 90s and this was a man's game, 100%. I mean, like so rare for a woman to be involved in real estate investing. I was investing before I got my real estate license. So
Huh.
that was my first jump into real estate was just right off the bat was a six family. So
Okay, so you started with a six family. It sounded like you were were refinancing out the money and then trying to do like a wash, rinse, repeat and just like keep building that portfolio then. Is that right?
yeah, that's how it happened. Yeah.
Okay. And so when what are some of the nuances when you jumped into this field? Because what's interesting is I go to a lot of meetups, a lot of mastermind events. I know a lot of people in the business because I've been doing it for about 8 years. I haven't been doing it for 30. And yeah, there's a lot of men in particular in the industry. There's not like a lot of women that do it. Why do you think that is?
I think it's tradition. I think it's a little bit of personality type. Men are the hunters, generally speaking. Women took care of the houses, generally speaking. So some of it is, I think, a basic orientation. Um, Other things are just what you see your parents do and what you see around you, right? So what you think about what your orientation is. So I, strangely enough, even though I'm very much a female, I was listening to Tony Robbins and learning from Robert Allen, who wrote the book Money Down, who was teaching about real estate. Because I tend to be interested in business matters early on, I just started orienting that way. So I think it's a little bit of a mix between DNA and, just the nature nurture thing. So
Hmm. Okay, nature nurture thing. But if you've got a like multifamily unit or like a sixplex and you own that already and you're trying to like nurture the tenants, take care of them, wouldn't women be better than that than men?
mm, wow, I love that question. Here's the thing. I don't want to nurture my tenants.
Okay. Yeah.
I nurture my clients with my Airbnb, right? Because that's hospitality. With prod, no, I don't want to nurture my tenants. I think it's more to be a successful landlord, it has to be more black and white. I do absolutely think you need to keep up with the times and the trends as far as, if you have an outdated house in an old rickety neighborhood, you're going to get a certain type of tenant. If your area is up and coming, if you can somehow figure out how to renovate that property, even severely, right,
Mhm.
in order to cash flow well. So, for example, one of my friends is all over Berkeley right now, okay, taking down these old buildings, either taking them down to the floor or stripping the guts and then building brand new student housing. But it's not like old, crappy beds. These are state of the art rec rooms, TV lounges, nice rooms, nice dorms, renting out by the bed, making a killing. Parents are co-signing or paying for the money, but that area is developing, so that is a great opportunity. So if you're and go, but to nurture, when I have nurtured my tenants, they took advantage of me. I learned that early. So you don't nurture your tenants. This is black and white. Here's what you get. Yes, I'm willing to maybe make a concession, maybe give you something bonus. I'm willing to negotiate in order to keep a good tenant. Absolutely. I take good care of my tenants for sure. But to nurture them, mm, it has to be a little bit more cut and dry.
Okay. It's just a fun question that I wanted to
It's a
ask.
great question. It's a great question because it kind of makes you think, like how, it kind of, you know, yeah. I had to grapple with that question. It was good.
You'd mentioned that your superpower, we're kind of chit-chatting for a few minutes before this call, was you recognize opportunities in the marketplace. Where have you seen the opportunity in the past? And then where are you seeing unique opportunities today? Like how has the market shifted and what are you focusing on? Where do you see the opportunity?
Okay, so that's a two-part question. In the past or now? Both?
Yeah, kind of I'm trying to paint a picture
Overview?
for the listeners on
Overview?
like how things are shifting.
Yeah. So right now things are shifting. In commercial right now, a lot of things are shifting. There's threats in the residential world of national rent control, which one of my friends, Jeff Watson, who's a phenomenal, the best attorney. There are two best investor attorneys in America, in my opinion, Jeff Watson and Ron Ballard.
Yeah.
And Jeff Watson is active in Washington trying to stave away national rent control, which is outrageous, absolutely outrageous.
Yeah.
So that is threatening, obviously, to residential. Obviously, it's very threatening because they're not controlling taxes, they're not controlling the mortgage, they're just controlling the rent, right? So that's a challenge. And so at the moment, I'm liquidating some of my residential. I'm moving into commercial. I like the idea going forward for me personally of having less government control on my
Yeah.
business. I mean, it's just the way America is going right now. It is, in my opinion, it's not going the way our forefathers would have liked it. It's going in a different direction. A lot of my friends who are from other countries are quite horrified at the direction our country is going, from the standpoint of that, freedom in business and in entrepreneurship. All the things that we've known and loved, are being challenged and stressed. But in the commercial real estate arena, although it's more difficult in some ways, in other ways, there's less. There's less problems with the government getting involved because they just figure it's professional to professional, and they have no reason or agenda to get involved with us at that level. They do have a reason to get involved with renters. They have for many years have had big challenges in many
Mhm.
areas with that. Where they meddle, where in my opinion, they meddle where they don't belong. But in some ways, they protect people. I totally get that. I appreciate protecting from slumlords, but capping rent does not protect from slumlords. That actually
Right.
encourages it. It encourages it because the money's going to come from somewhere.
Yeah.
But I think the opportunities now are certain types of commercial. And again, if I were to encourage somebody to know what that means, everything is hyper local, right? So know what's going on in your backyard. This is an arena, real estate. If anyone has had any success in real estate, you've got to be on top of what's going on. You got to be paying attention all the time. You got to be collaborating. You got to be listening to podcasts. You got to be meeting other people, finding out what are people doing in your backyard that could be, be successful for you. So
Yeah.
my basic mainstay is I'm a broker. So I've got 20 years of clients who need to buy and sell real estate, and that's my bread and butter. And then my next level on that, is like, what are the next opportunities? So in the past, the mortgage crisis, when my income went from here to zero overnight, was a massive opportunity, but I didn't see it for another 6 months but I was looking. And then finally I found something that opened up with massive opportunity during the time of, massive crisis. Um, right now in office, there's massive crisis in office. So how can you capitalize on that? Right. So there are people who are taking office buildings and they're stripping them and converting them. Can you do that? Can you get with people? Can you invest in something like that? Here in Silicon Valley, there are certain areas where, like my last flip, I bought it for $2 million. It was a little tiny shack in a primo area. We put in 1.25 million and we sold it for 4.8. Right, because that was an opportunity. We're looking, where's the opportunity? And then of course other people are doing it. Can you do what other people are doing? Right. So there's these opportunities that are always in front of us, but we need to train our minds to look for them.
So I love what you said there. Train your mind to look for the opportunities. I want to put a pin in that. I want to get back to it, but I love what you said. You said, "Hey, where was the market? Residential. What's the concern? These rent controls. Where hey, we're going to tell you what you can rent it for, but not going to put in controls on the mortgage or the taxes that we charge you. Big problem there. So you mentioned you were liquidating your residential portfolio. You're putting it in commercial. You outlined a few of those niches in commercial that were kind of suffering. You mentioned office space opportunity there. You said that there was a luxury flip that you saw. How like what are, how have you trained yourself to look for those opportunities? Because I feel like there's some gold here that we can really like give the audience, because you just named two different asset classes where you were able to recognize an opportunity. What are the mechanics that go behind recognizing opportunity?
I love that question because it's, we talk about the reticular activator system in the brain,
Mm.
right? This is the oldest, like I've been listening to Tony Robbins since the 1992, right? So there's in our brain, we see what our natural orientation is. If we want to change that natural orientation, you need to give your brain different stimuli, right? So this is where education comes in, number one. Okay, so I work with people, I work with 40 commercial real estate investors who take down $1 billion of assets per quarter. Okay, we meet weekly on Zoom and we meet quarterly in person for 3 to 5 days. And so, do you think if you're in that environment, you will hear something? If you're there
Yeah.
5 days and people are saying, this is what I'm doing, this is what I'm doing, they have a slide presentation. Do you think that if you are ambitious, that you will see something, you will hear something that would trip your imagination and maybe think, maybe I can do this, right?
Mhm.
So, so going into an environment where people are doing things, there are meetups. You attend real estate meetups. What are other people doing? By the way, my friends go to one in Chattanooga.
Mhm.
They love it. They just started going 2 months ago and they love it. I don't know if you've gone to that. There's one in Chattanooga. So a little
And
bit
just for
far
those
from you.
listening, the reticular activating system, what she's talking about, if you've ever been shopping for like a car, for example, my wife's about to have to go shopping for a car. And so I'm like, all right, you need to hop to it. Your car's literally about to just die. And you pick a particular car out. I drive a RAV4, Toyota RAV4. That's what I drive. I love the car. All of a sudden, when you start shopping for a car, you just buy a Toyota RAV4. All of a sudden, you see tons of Toyota RAV4s everywhere. You're like, oh my gosh, like people must have just bought this car at the same time that I bought mine, because there was no way there were this many Toyota RAV4s on the market. It's just because the reticular activating system was focused on that RAV4. And what she's talking about is you get around certain parts of information, your brain will hone in on that, whether you're around somebody else, and where your focus goes, your energy flows. And so by getting around other people and getting around the information that you need to get around, your reticular activating system will hone in on that information, aka when you're learning how to recognize opportunities, when you're learning to recognize good investments because you're around other people, they're sourcing them, you're seeing, touching them, feeling them, just like the RAV4, you'll start to see more of those opportunities. Is that it in a nutshell?
Absolutely. Thank you for extrapolating on that. That's excellent. Yes,
Uh,
exactly. Now, the other way I've been training myself, so before you get to that point, maybe you don't know anybody, right? Maybe you don't know what's going on. I've been a big proponent of positive affirmations for at least 25 years. Positive affirmation. So you can literally write down a positive affirmation. I see opportunities for wealth generation everywhere.
mhm.
And you could not just once, you need to brainwash yourself. You need to brainwash yourself. Right. So I've been brainwashing myself for 30 years. But
Yeah.
I brainwashed myself for success because nobody's going to do it for you. Right. And that's what I've always done. So positive affirmations. When the mortgage crisis hit, I didn't mention this, but I was panicked as anyone. Like, why did my, very lucrative business dry up overnight when more and more and more people were calling me for mortgages? So the demand was there, but the spigot had completely dried up inexplicably. I found out a lot later what was going on, but I knew it before it was announced on the news. I knew it like 6 months earlier. So I went into the same kind of panic everybody else did at first, and people are coming to me for answers, and I was digging, digging, digging. what I did was I wrote down pages, a notebook, pages and pages of positive affirmations that was exactly the opposite of everything that was happening
Mhm.
in my life.
Yeah.
Yeah. So whatever problems, issues, challenges you have, putting on a growth mindset. And if you don't have a growth mindset, force it on yourself by writing down the opposite of whatever is going on. And this you start integrating with your higher self. And those, I think those are the two. If somebody does that consistently as a practice, as a training, you do the positive affirmations, you insist on it, you train like you go to the gym consistently. If it's 5 times a day, I've done positive affirmations where I've put them in. I would years ago I put a tape in the car with me talking to myself, retraining
Yeah.
my thinking. And now you can record your own voice, and then you can listen to it while you're at the gym, right? And then so you record that, and then I see opportunities everywhere. I see opportunities everywhere. I see $1 million opportunities, and I just pick which ones I want. I analyze deals very effectively. I'm a shapeshifter, like whatever works, and then just be consistent. Just be
Yeah.
consistent.
So I know a lot of people have different styles, right? Everybody's made and programmed differently. How does somebody go about matching their natural style or natural gifts or skills to the right investing strategy?
Yeah, I think that's a wonderful question, and it's a really critical question. The problem we have with media and with there's so much information out there, and there's so many people doing so many things. If you don't really know yourself, you'll just go on a wild tangent, and you'll
Yeah.
be in a place you don't belong. Now, if you're young, that's okay. You just go on a wild tangent, and you go, you flip a building, and you're like, oh, I have no business being here flipping a building. I don't know anything about building, and you just go and do it because you saw it on TV. That's the problem. So what I encourage everybody to do is really to know yourself first. Take all those aptitude tests. Think about what people tell you about what you're good at. There's some great aptitude tests that really will hone it in there. And then, really cogitate about what
But what
your
are some of
direction.
those tests? Can you give some recommendations?
Oh yeah, the Myers-Briggs is
Okay.
one. Um, the Strong's aptitude test is excellent. I know Ray Dalio's got one. I haven't done it, but I want to do that. Ray Dalio's a brilliant, brilliant man, and he's got some really he's got a good test. So I would say start with those. The Enneagram's kind of interesting. Yeah. So but also just kind of know your orientation, right? What did you want to be when you were a kid? What do people compliment you on? What comes so naturally to you that doesn't come naturally to others? So some of us are natural geniuses with building. My buddy Mike, he's been a builder since he was a little kid, with his dad. He's a contractor, and he's one of my right-hand men, in contracting, but he loves it. It's the funniest thing because if I call him and he's like singing a happy tune, I know he's on the job site.
Mm.
If he's like glum, I know he's in the office doing paperwork. I can tell by his voice.
Yeah.
He's like, "How you doing?" And I'm like, "I'm doing great," and I knew it. So, my natural gifts, I love communicating, I love people, I love design. Those are my natural. I do love serving and nurturing. Despite what I said about my tenants, that's a natural orientation. I also love um, cross-pollinating talent. I love seeing people of talent cross-pollinate and be able to do deals together. So I guess that's why I'm a broker. I like to
Broker. Okay.
pull,
Yeah. By
pull people
connecting people.
together.
Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah. And some people are natural people person like I am. And other people are natural with systems and analysis and
That's
and
me. I'm that guy.
that's awesome. There's so much you can do with that. There's just so much opportunity if you're a great systems person. But whatever your natural genius is, there's opportunity in real estate to do very, very well if you just dig into your personal gifts and really hone them. So that's the way of just compressing time and not squandering it around. The sooner you can know who you are and what you're great at, the sooner you can just move forward and then just and shine and just get other people to supplement the areas that you're not as good at.
Yeah, I love what you said there. It makes a whole lot of sense. Yeah, there's definitely personality types that like to do that whole builder thing and tinker and construct. Not me, but some I'm the systems and process guy. And then you said, your people communicator, broker. So falling within like your natural talents. I remember I've screamed at 5 grown human beings my entire life. 4 out of those 5 while I was constructing houses. Like I've done it. So I've been in every single seat in my company. I've done it all. Definitely not good with the construction end. Want to hire that out with somebody who's got a better personality fit for that particular department of the business. You'd mentioned that 2008 was kind of tough. I know that I know a lot of people right now are struggling. They've been struggling since rates have gone up. There's been a lot of distress in the commercial world specifically. It's presented some great buying opportunities for those that are ready. I love the Rothschilds quote, the buy when there's blood in the streets, even when it's your own blood. What
You're
kind
right.
of you mentioned that you're focused on a particular, niche in commercial. Like what are you focused on now? Like where are you seeing the opportunity within the commercial space?
Well, there's opportunity beyond what I'm where I'm looking, right? There's opportunity. Industrial's been a little bit overbuilt, self-storage has been a bit overbuilt. So that's again, buyer beware. And again, location, 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 right? So, me personally, I'm looking for neighborhood strip malls. I can wrap my head around it. I like shopping. That's a really good reason, right? I have a lot of friends who are very successful in that arena, and they're really good friends of mine. And so we talk about it, and I'm like, yeah, I can get my head around this, So, but it took a little bit. At first, it was a little uncomfortable. Like I had my previous experience in commercial where multifamily uh, buildings as well as medical offices. So I could wrap my head around this, but neighborhood strip mall is something new. I do believe that there are good buying opportunities, but you have to be careful, like anything else. But there's opportunity in office, mostly in suburbia office. There seems to still be it doesn't seem as to be as a distress situation. It's the middle of the city. Chicago, very difficult. San Francisco right now, very difficult. But could be really great opportunities when everything revamps, when things change. Like you said, flood in the streets now, but the problem is there's a big holding time. So you have to be able to wait it out while you stabilize the assets. So,
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. Well, this has been an absolute pleasure. For those that want to learn more about you, learn more about your company, where can they go?
just go on social media, Ginger Crystal Faith. I think I'm the only real estate person on the planet with that name, so it's pretty simple. And I on Facebook regularly, and to just take a look and reach out to me.
Okay, cool. Well, we'll make sure that that gets posted in the show notes here. Ginger, it's been an absolute pleasure having you on the show.
Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
And for those listening, show Ginger some love, show me some love. If you got value from this episode, share this with your friends and family, comment, and we'll see you guys next time.